Secretary of State John Kerry landed in Israel today as the country continues its campaign to dismantle Hamas. While Israel has attempted to avoid civilian casualties, even goes so far as to announce their bombing targets. Hamas has turned schools and hospitals into military command posts. Now, instead of condemning this deplorable action by Islamic fundamentalists, the Council on American Islamic Relations is calling for Israel to stop their military action. CAIR's reaction is a far cry from Rush Limbaugh, who leveled this serious charge against the Hamas terror group.
Here we have the modern-day Nazis. The Palestinians, Hamas, you name it, are the modern-day Nazis, where the Jews are concerned. Here you have a whole region full of them, and nobody will utter the word. That describes the ideology of the Islamic Jihad, which is anti-Semitism.
All right, Rush Limbaugh always making, provocative statements. Let's take it around the table and get your reaction. We'll begin with you, Mr. Beckwell.
Well, it's nice to see Rush again. We very rarely see him, but I'm also glad to see he's picked up on something that I said a couple of days ago, and I'll say it, Rush. It is anti-Semitism. They want to get rid of the Jews. They want to exterminate the Jews from the Middle East, so it is Nazism. And I think that, look, I don't know how much farther Israel can go to try to protect innocent civilians in the Gaza, and how much farther Hamas can go to put them in harm's way. At some point, the American media, particularly, and others, and CAIR, I mean, who cares what CAIR says? But anyway, CAIR, if you want to be a serious organization, can you please condemn these Nazis from doing what they're doing? Can you please do that? They started this thing. They're the ones who got to be cleaned out, and you sit back there and blame Israel. A pox on your house.
Bowling, should it matter?
Well, maybe we should start with President Obama. President Obama has literally and figuratively been bowing to Muslims since he took office. The White House declared Israel the loser in this conflict. The Palestinians have shot 2,000 rockets into Israel. All Israel is doing is said, we told you not, stop. And now they're feeling the pain because of that. The FAA doesn't make a move without the Department of Homeland Security. DHS is appointed, for the most part, by the Obama administration. So the Obama administration knew exactly what they were doing when the FAA put the flight restrictions into Israel. By the way, why aren't there flight restrictions into Pakistan, Yemen, Afghanistan, or other countries that rockets are flying in are dangerous places? There aren't flight restrictions there by the FAA.
Right.
So they've singled out Israel as their point. Look, this is a punitive measure by the FAA, by the White House to punish Israel, and they always blaming Israel. All Israel's trying to do. Contrary to the White House, I stand with Israel on this.
All right, we're going to get more into that in a moment. Dana, so if you're sitting in the White House and you need to advise the president and talk to him how to handle this, when you see this kind of action by CAIR, which I think really is just going in the wrong direction, it's not improving the situation at all, calling for this condemnation of Israel, how do you take it?
I think CAIR is probably the least of their worries right now. I think it matters very little. That they've reached out to them. I'm sure they have tried to have a cooperative relationship with them. I don't think it's that important at this moment. I think that the fact that John Kerry is there, just remember, John Kerry has been there a lot in the last 2 years. I mean, that was his goal, was to try to establish some sort of basis for a Middle East peace deal. Arguably, some people suggest that effort actually made things worse and helped lead to the situation that Israel faces now. But that said,
why do you say that? Because I think that's
I think that the fact that Hamas and Fatah made that establish a relationship, and the United States really was kind of unable to do anything about it, then I think that militarized a lot more of the Hamas situation, and then that's when hostilities really ramped up. Also say that I don't subscribe to the theory that the grounding of the flights was political, like a decision made by the political people at the White House. I do think, however, that the consequences of it gave Hamas the green light to say, if you keep doing this, you can have an effect that could cripple Israel, so keep doing what you're doing. So I think there are practical consequences to what they're doing. I wish that they would change it.
All right, Greg, I'm going to get your thoughts on two things, but first I want to pay a little bit of sound here from Ambassador John Bolton regarding the FAA decision to ground the flights.
I'd like to know who influenced the FAA's decision, because I think in the Obama-Kerry paradigm of the world, this puts economic pressure on Israel to increase the likelihood they'll agree to a ceasefire. In my way of thinking, it proves precisely the opposite. It's why Israel can't live under this constant threat of being rocketed.
Greg, start with CAIR.
Well, I mean, if you look at two conflicts that are going on right now, you have a plane that was shot down in eastern Ukraine, possibly by separatists. Perhaps a mistake, and I believe probably a mistake. In Israel, when a passenger plane is shot down, it's actually intentional. So you actually can see the difference between these kinds of fighting and these kinds of fighters. There are people that are at least have some kind of moral structure to their rage or their beliefs, but you have one that it would be happy to blow out a passenger jet or fire at innocent people in their homes. CAIR, to me, is like the father who is angry that his bully son, who started a fight, got his butt kicked by the smart kid with glasses. And now they're saying, oh, enough. But CAIR's brilliance really is that they know how to target America's Achilles heel. Our obsession with tolerance and our fear of racial accusation. CAIR bludgeons us with a cudgel of inclusion. But we can't do it back to them, because they don't care about tolerance. In Islamic countries, there's no such thing. You're either with them or you're against them. And if you're against them, God help you or Allah help you. But there are no such obstacles among Islam, whereas we have to deal with this, and we are in many ways a cowardly country beholden to the fear of being called a bigot.
You know how we fight back, though? You know what we really do? We talk about CAIR. We let people know what CAIR really is. CAIR is really the PR wing of Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Muslim Brotherhood. That's what they were there for, put in place for. They were there to kind of calm the tensions, the finger pointing at the radical Muslim extremists that America was kind of getting very mad with. That CAIR says, no, let's point out the moderate Muslims that are around the world. The problem is they're also representing the extremists.
But wait, but CAIR, who is CAIR's biggest fan?
Iran.
No, Glenn Greenwald. I mean, he's the same guy who gave us Snowden. Snowden was a Valentine to CAIR to undermine the war on terror. And where is Snowden now? He's in with Putin. So, I mean, if you hate CAIR, you can't be friends with Greenwald.
Well, let me say one other thing. The idea that somehow...
You know what I mean?
No, I'm not getting. I'm saying,
aware of their relationship.
Greenwald has a very strong relationship with CAIR, which also informs what he did on the war on terror with Snowden.
Okay, fair enough, but that doesn't take any of the spotlight off of what CAIR really is. 9/11 unindicted co-conspirators of 9/11. They're you know why they're really doing this?
I agree with you. I actually think it shows more of what CAIR is all about. That they have such a relationship with Glenn Greenwald. I think that actually
they'll take anyone that will be friends with them.
What do you read from that, Dana?
Journalist.
We cannot let this segment go by without that ridiculous comment that they decided to not land planes in Israel. When you have a bomb that goes off within a mile of a major airport, you're going to stop planes from going in.
How many bombs are going off in Pakistan?
Not next to their airport.
How many bombs are going off in Afghanistan?
Not next to their airport.
How about
Can I repeat this?
This is such BS on your part. You know what this is? This is singling out Israel when they don't need to be singled out.
That is so uninformed and ridiculous.
This is the White House
you are just off the wall.
Punishing Israel and not other countries.
Come on. And
like I said before, the White House has bowed to Muslims since it.
Oh, yes. Was that true? They put drones on top of when they killed bin Laden? You think that was bowing to him? Huh?
You know why this is going to end? Not because of Obama, not because of CAIR. This is going to end because Hezbollah said to Hamas, hey, you guys want to fight Israel? We're not fighting this fight. We got our hands full with Syria, Lebanon, and to a certain extent Iraq. That's where we're full. Good luck. This is not our...
Because they're not going to get supplemental forces and assistance, it'll fail. Could you at least proceed your
comments by saying it's your conjecture instead of making it sound like it's real?
Everything I say, is my opinion, Bob. Everything I say.
Don't you smear Howdy Doody.
Yeah, why do you have to
bringing
take
Howdy
it there,
Doody into
Bob?
this?
Sorry.
He's a legend.
Mean-spirited. Yeah, Dana. Put some sense and some color on this.
Thread the needle again?
Thread the needle.
Talk about Jasper.
Bigger picture, pulling back. Okay, we have to decide how much when we say we fully support Israel, does that mean that we fully support their right to defend themselves no matter what it takes? They have taken great pains to make sure that civilians are not in harm's way. Hamas, one of the tactics is to put innocent people in harm's way. So you are dealing with fundamentally different ideologies of how to fight a war. So if this is going to continue, and we're going to say that we support Israel, that has to mean fully supporting Israel to do what they might have to do, which could be very unfortunate for some civilians that are put in harm's way.
How does the U.S. do that? What do they need to do to fully support Israel?
I think, I'm not sure. I think that John Kerry, hopefully, we're to put our faith in their leadership to try to see if they can
One thing you
pull them
don't
together to get a ceasefire, at least. Ceasefire will allow you some space to get a political solution, but I don't think that will be enough at this point. I don't think that they'll be able to get it until somebody blinks.
Right.
And I don't think it's going to be Israel. And what you just said is a good point.
Can't afford to.
Hamas has all the support now that it needs.
Yeah, listen,
Israel
the problem
is the largest recipient of U.S. aid. It's the largest recipient of U.S. intelligence. I would bet you that these tunnels have been seen by U.S. satellites, and they're giving them the information. The United States has done everything they possibly can, and for years, for Israel.
Well, and they should continue.
Of course.
Right, but there shouldn't be any let-off on that.
I think a lot of it has to do with propaganda.
Right.
Propaganda is a major part of any war effort. The United States is not very good at it in the Middle East region. The terrorists and Hamas, they're very good at it in that region, and they're better than us at cyber warfare. So I think that we could put some efforts in addition to what we're already doing on the ground with intel, et cetera, but a propaganda campaign is actually probably more effective.
Yeah, build international support.
For the Hamas propaganda to work, you have to have a sucker. And I really do feel that there are many suckers in this media. If you show the media a terrorist, they will recite a root cause that caused that terrorist. The cliched media hook is that in all conflicts, the little guy is the good guy, even if the little guy started it. A terrorist suddenly becomes a freedom fighter because there are smaller numbers. There's no such thing in the perspective of the media as a bad little guy. If you're big, like America, you got to be bad. And if you're small, you're a revolutionary freedom fighter. So Israel will always be bad, and Hamas will always be good.
Well, you have to change that then.
That's my point.
The perception. If you could come up with a solution for that in the next
during the break, I'll
write something up.
Right, free-form monologue.